Imagine you have a small seed in the palm of your hand. On the outside, it seems insignificant, a grain, almost imperceptible against the vastness of life. But inside it lies the promise of a tree that can grow, blossom, provide shade, fruits, and even transform the landscape around it. Now think, how many seeds have passed through your life without you being aware of the power they carried? How many habits, choices, or decisions could have become lush trees if only they had been cultivated with intention? Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, teaches us that each of us carries these seeds in the form of habits, patterns of thought and behavior that shape who we become. And here, on the Ikigai channel, we know these habits only make real sense when they are aligned with purpose, with Ikigai, that which makes us get out of bed every morning feeling that our life is worth it. Today, we are going to dive together into this journey. We will understand how the 7 habits can be much more than productivity tools. They can become seeds for a meaningful, effective, and deeply connected life with your Ikigai. Before exploring the 7 habits, we need to know the man behind this work that transformed millions of lives. Stephen Covey was born in 1932 in the United States and became one of the greatest thinkers on leadership, personal effectiveness, and human development of the 20th century. His book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, published in 1989, was not just another self-help manual. It introduced a new way of thinking. While many books of the time taught quick tricks to be more productive or shortcuts to success, Covey took the opposite approach. He returned to the roots of ethics, integrity, and practical wisdom. He said, "There are no quick solutions to complex problems. There are natural laws that govern life, and if you respect them, you will flourish. If you ignore them, you will reap the consequences." This thinking closely resembles Eastern philosophies that also underpin Ikigai. Just as in Japan, it is understood that life is a path of discipline and harmony with nature. Covey believed that principles are like universal laws. Do not believe them, simply discover them and choose whether to live according to them or not. Covey was a teacher, speaker, consultant for major companies, and mentor to world leaders. But more than that, he was someone who believed in the importance of aligning personal and professional life around solid values. And here is a direct connection with Ikigai. It is not just about being effective at work or achieving external goals, but about living with coherence, balance, and purpose. However, before listing the 7 habits, it is important to understand what Covey meant by habit. According to him, a habit is the intersection of knowledge, skill, and desire. Knowledge is the what to do and the why. Skill is the how to do. Desire is the motivation, the willingness to act. If one of these 3 is missing, there is no real habit. For example, you may know that you should exercise, knowledge, even know how to run or do weight training, skill, but if you lack the desire to put on your sneakers and leave the house, the habit does not form. Similarly, many of us desire a life with purpose. We want to live our Ikigai, but without knowledge, understanding what Ikigai is and why it is important, and without skill, applying in daily life decisions aligned with purpose, we are only in the realm of intention. And that is where Covey's habits become powerful tools. They teach us to turn purpose into practice. Covey divides the 7 habits into 3 main blocks, which he calls maturity. Private victory consists of the first 3 habits. They relate to self-mastery. Here, you move out of dependence and toward independence. Public victory includes the next 3 habits. They focus on how we relate to others. It is the path of healthy interdependence. Continuous renewal is the 7th habit. It is about ongoing renewal and growth. Let's summarize the 7 habits for an initial overview. Habit 1. Be proactive. Take responsibility for your life. Do not blame circumstances, conditions, or conditioning. Proactivity means recognizing that you are responsible for your decisions and results. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Be clear about where you want to go. Visualize your ideal future and align your daily actions with that purpose. Habit 3. Put first things first. Discipline to prioritize what is essential, not just what is urgent. Learn to say no to what does not serve your purpose. Habit 4. Think win-win. Seek solutions that benefit all parties. Instead of competing, cooperate. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Develop empathetic listening. Before imposing your vision, seek to understand the others. Habit 6. Create synergy value differences. The whole can be greater than the sum of its parts when we work collaboratively. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. Dedicate time to physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual renewal. A balanced life strengthens all other habits. Here at Canal Ikigai, we know that living with purpose is not just a distant ideal, but something built day by day. And each of the 7 habits is a step in that construction. Being proactive is the same as taking responsibility for seeking your Ikigai. Starting with the end in mind means having clarity that your life needs direction, just as Ikigai gives meaning to mornings. First and foremost, it is important to prioritize what brings you closer to your purpose and not get lost in distractions. Thinking win-win is living relationships that nourish, that align with your mission. Understanding before being understood is cultivating empathy, a fundamental pillar of meaningful coexistence. Creating synergy is perceiving that your Ikigai also flourishes in community, not just in solitude. Continuously sharpening is never stopping your development, for your Ikigai is not static. It grows with you. We understand that habits are like seeds that can blossom into trees of purpose. We know Stephen Covey and his legacy, and we see how the 7 habits dialogue with the Ikigai philosophy. Let's delve into the first 3 habits, the so-called private victory. And you'll realize that before transforming the world around you, we need to cultivate roots within ourselves. Because living Ikigai is not just about discovering what moves you, but about disciplining yourself to live in accordance with it every day. Covey reminds us that before seeking to transform the world around us, we need to conquer an inner victory. He calls this private victory, the set of habits that lead us from dependence to independence. This is a fundamental point. Dependence is when we believe that the world, others, or circumstances define our destiny. Independence is when we take control of our own lives, aligning actions and decisions with what is most important. This transition is exactly the first step for those seeking to live Ikigai, taking responsibility for their own path with purpose. Being proactive is not just taking initiative. It is understanding that we are responsible for our choices and that our lives are not solely determined by what happens to us, but by how we react to what happens. Covey distinguishes 2 ways of living: reactive people, live based on their environment, circumstances, and fleeting emotions. They say things like, "I can't do anything. That's just who I am. They won't let me choose." Proactive people recognize that there is a space between stimulus and response. In that space lies the power to choose who we want to be. Living Ikigai is consciously choosing what gives meaning to your life. A proactive person does not wait for Ikigai to appear. They create the conditions, ask questions, seek experiences, take risks, and build the path. Thus, being proactive is the first step to discovering your purpose. It is understanding that even amidst external limitations, you can align your life with what is valuable to you. We can practice this habit by replacing phrases of helplessness with phrases of responsibility. Instead of saying, "I don't have time for this," say, "I am not prioritizing this right now." Create a list of recent decisions and identify, were they reactive, external blame, or proactive, taking responsibility? Remember that Ikigai is a construction. With each proactive decision, you strengthen it. Covey invites us to live with a clear vision of the future. He uses the powerful metaphor of imagining your own funeral. If today were the day people talked about your life, what would you like them to say? This habit is about clarity of mission. It's not about external goals or superficial achievements, but about aligning your life with core values. Ikigai is, in essence, starting with the end in mind. It's the clarity that your life should have coherence between what you love, what the world needs, what you are good at, and what you can be recognized for. When you bring this habit into Ikigai, you create an internal direction. It doesn't matter if you're lost amid distractions or crises. You know where you need to go. We can practice this habit by writing a personal mission statement. What are the non-negotiable values of your life? Review your goals and ask yourself, does this bring me closer to or farther from my Ikigai? Create a daily visualization routine. Imagine the life you want to live and align your actions with that vision. Habit 3. The most important thing first is the practical discipline that transforms vision into action. Covey differentiates between urgent and important. The urgent is noisy, demands your immediate attention, but is not always relevant. The important is silent, rarely shouts, but defines the course of your life. Most people live by putting out urgent fires and forget to take care of what truly matters. Covey presents a matrix known as the Eisenhower matrix, or Covey matrix, dividing activities into 4 quadrants. 1. Urgent and important. 2. Important but not urgent. 3. Urgent but not important. 4. Neither urgent nor important. The secret of habit 3 is to live in quadrant 2. Take care of what is important before it becomes urgent. Ikigai only blossoms when we prioritize what is essential. How many times do we set aside what we love, what gives us meaning, to attend to external pressures or fleeting distractions? Putting first what is most important is putting Ikigai at the center of the agenda. In other words, my life will not be guided only by what others expect of me, but by what truly matters. We can put this habit into practice by creating a weekly schedule that includes time dedicated to what nourishes your Ikigai: study, art, spirituality, family, mission. Learning to say no to activities that do not align with your purpose. Just as importantly, review daily whether your actions are nourishing quadrant 2, the space for growth, healthcare, relationship cultivation, and the pursuit of purpose. The first 3 habits form a powerful triad. Habit 1 gives the strength of choice. Habit 2 gives the direction of life. Habit 3 gives the discipline of action. Together, they represent the root of the tree of effectiveness. Without roots, no tree blooms. Without private victory, there is no public victory. And in Ikigai, this means that before seeking to impact the world, we need to align our inner life, our values, and our priorities. So far, we have learned that an effective and meaningful life begins within us. Being proactive, starting with the end in mind, and putting the most important things first are seeds that, once cultivated, lead us from dependence to independence. Now let's move on to public victory, habits 4, 5, and 6. It's time to realize that although independence is a milestone, fulfillment happens in interdependence. When we learn to create relationships of trust, empathy, and synergy. Because Ikigai is not just individual, it flourishes in community, in the connections that give meaning to our journey. After achieving private victory, that stems from self-control and inner clarity, Covey invites us to look outward, because living is not just about independence, it is about interdependence. The world is made of relationships, and without learning to relate effectively, there is no full Ikigai. After all, purpose is not fulfilled in isolation. It is revealed and strengthened when shared, when it resonates in the lives of others. The 4th habit teaches us to abandon a scarcity mindset and adopt an abundance mindset. In a scarcity mindset, we believe that life is a zero-sum game. For someone to win, another must lose. If someone gets promoted, I am demoted. If someone succeeds, I lose space. In an abundance mindset, we understand that there is room for everyone to grow. That cooperation yields greater fruits than competition. That true relationships are not based on one side winning and the other losing, but on creating solutions where everyone benefits. Covey does not deny that there are moments when win-win is not possible. But for most situations, this is the key to healthy and lasting relationships. Ikigai is not a self-centered project. It flourishes when we share our gifts with the world, and we can only do this fully when we set aside ego logic and embrace the logic of cooperation. Think, what is the point of living Ikigai if it is limited to yourself? When you live your mission in a win-win way, everyone around you also grows. To apply this, we can replace the mindset of me against the other with how can we grow together? In negotiations, seek results that benefit the greater good, not just individual gain. In personal relationships, cultivate a stance of generosity and abundance. Habit 5. First, strive to understand, then be understood. It is the art of empathetic listening. Covey explains that most people listen only to respond, not to understand. They filter what the other says through their own paradigms, judgments, and experiences. True empathetic listening requires inner silence. It involves putting yourself in the other person's shoes and trying to see the world through their eyes. When we listen this way, we create deep connections. And only after understanding do we have the moral authority to seek to be understood. Ikigai involves both self-knowledge and otherness. To live with purpose, it's not enough to know what you love and desire. It's also necessary to understand what the world needs. And that is only possible when we truly listen. Empathetic listening is an act of Ikigai, opening oneself to the other to build a shared meaning. To practice this habit in conversations, we can practice listening without interrupting, without mentally preparing a response. Use validation phrases. I understand what you're saying. That must have been difficult for you. In conflicts, we can first seek to understand the other person's point of view before defending our own. The 6th habit is the peak of public victory, synergy. It means recognizing that the whole can be greater than the sum of its parts. Covey shows that when different people bring their perspectives, talents, and experiences, solutions emerge that no individual could create alone. It is the beauty of diversity. But for synergy to happen, we need to abandon the fear of differences. It is necessary to value divergences as opportunities for growth, not as threats. In Japanese Ikigai, there is a deep sense of community. It is no coincidence that in Okinawa, where many people live over 100 years, Ikigai is strongly linked to social connections. Creating synergy is living Ikigai in community. It is realizing that your mission flourishes more when it is connected to others' missions. To put this into practice in group projects, we should value divergent ideas instead of dismissing them. In family or friendships, we can seek activities that enhance complementary talents. In communities, we can realize that each individual contributes uniquely. The 3 habits of public success represent the path from the self to the US. Habit 4 teaches cooperation. Habit 5 teaches understanding. Habit 6 teaches creating something greater together. If private success takes root firmly, public success makes the tree flourish and bear fruit for the world. In Ikigai, this means that purpose is not just individual, but collective. When we cultivate win-win relationships, listen with empathy, and create synergy, we discover that our Ikigai is intertwined with the Ikigai of others. We understand that effectiveness and purpose are not solitary journeys. We learn that true power arises when we cultivate relationships based on abundance, listening, and cooperation. Next, we will delve into habit 7, sharpen the saw, exploring the importance of continuous renewal. And we will see how the practice of permanent self-transformation connects Covey to the heart of the Ikigai philosophy, living each day as an opportunity to flourish more fully. Imagine an old violin. It has been tuned many times, played in concerts, moved entire audiences. But if it is stored for weeks without care, it loses its pitch. The strings go out of tune, the wood dries out, the harmony disappears. The same is true for our lives. No matter how disciplined or effective you are, If you do not take care of your body, your mind, your emotions, and your spirituality, you become out of tune with life. This is the invitation of Habit 7. Tuning the instrument, taking care of yourself in a holistic and consistent way. Covey reminds us that human growth occurs in 4 dimensions: physical, taking care of health; rest, nutrition, movement; mental, maintaining continuous learning, stimulating creativity, broadening horizons; social, emotional, nurturing relationships, developing empathy, cultivating bonds of trust; spiritual, connecting with deep values, meditating, praying, reflecting on purpose. The instrument is in tune when we dedicate regular time to each of these dimensions, not as a luxury, but as an essential discipline. Ikigai is living in a way that the body, mind, heart, and spirit are aligned. If only one of these dimensions is unbalanced, Ikigai loses strength. Tuning the instrument is recognizing that purpose does not survive extreme exhaustion, intellectual alienation, social isolation, or spiritual emptiness. Ikigai is fullness. And this requires continuous care, taking care of the body, practicing exercise regularly, but not as an obligation, rather as a celebration of life, sleeping enough so that the mind is clear and creative, eating consciously, choosing what strengthens rather than just satisfies. In Japanese Ikigai, especially in Okinawa, longevity is linked to simple habits: walking, cultivating gardens, eating lightly, keeping the body in motion every day, nurturing the mind, reading books that expand consciousness, studying new areas, learning languages, exploring new skills, creating time for reflection, not just to passively absorb information. In Ikigai, learning is continuous. Living is improving oneself. It is never ceasing to evolve. Strengthen the heart. Value the bonds of friendship and love. Offer support, but also know how to receive. Celebrate achievements together. Learn from differences. Ikigai does not bloom alone. It is nourished by community bonds. Expand the spirit. Create moments of silence and contemplation. Connect with something greater than oneself, whether through religion, philosophy, or personal spirituality. Seek answers to essential questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Here is the core of Ikigai, aligning life with what has eternal value, not just the transient. Covey insists, Habit 7 is not something you do once in a while. It is a constant cycle, like breathing. It's like sharpening a saw. A lumberjack can be proud of working nonstop, but if he doesn't stop to sharpen the blade, his strength will be in vain. Similarly, we can live busy lives, but if we don't pause to renew ourselves, we will lose effectiveness. And here is the connection with Ikigai. Purpose is not something you discover once and for all. It is something you cultivate daily, with constant renewal. We can apply and practice by reserving weekly time to care for each dimension: body, mind, heart, and spirit, creating daily rituals of silence, reflection, or meditation, setting goals for continuous learning, dedicating energy to meaningful relationships, seeing self-care not as selfishness, but as service to the world. Because we can only give our best when we are well. Adjusting the instrument is recognizing that life is a work in progress. No matter how much we have already achieved, we always need to renew our strength. And in Ikigai, this means renewing purpose each day, not living on past memories or future expectations, but cultivating in the present what gives us meaning. Habit 7 shows us that the path of Ikigai requires constant renewal in all dimensions of being. From the first habit to the 7th, we walk a path that is not just about productivity or external success, but about inner transformation. With private victory, we learn to be proactive, to start with the goal in mind, and to put the most important first. With public victory, we understand the importance of thinking win-win, seeking first to understand, then to be understood, and creating synergy. And with continuous tuning, we discover that life demands constant renewal in all dimensions of being. This framework, proposed by Stephen Covey, is more than a methodology. It is a philosophy of life. And when we look at it through the lens of Ikigai, we realize that we are facing two systems that complement each other in an extraordinary way. We can see the 7 habits as a map that leads to Ikigai. Habit 1 reminds us that only those who take responsibility for their own lives truly live Ikigai. Habit 2 connects us with the sense of mission at the core of Ikigai. Habit 3 teaches us to put Ikigai at the center of our priorities. Habit 4 shows us that Ikigai flourishes when it generates abundance for all. Habit 5 teaches that we only discover what the world needs when we listen truly. Habit 6 reveals that Ikigai is not individualism, but synergy. Habit 7 ensures that Ikigai only remains alive if it is constantly renewed. Thus, Covey and Ikigai dialogue like two voices singing the same melody. An effective life is only full when it is rooted in purpose. Looking from another perspective, Ikigai also illuminates the 7 habits, provides direction to proactivity, gives content to the goal in the mind, provides criteria for what is most important, gives meaning to win-win relationships, provides depth to empathetic listening, adds beauty to community synergy, provides purpose to continuous renewal. Ikigai is the soul that invigorates the habits. Habits are the discipline that sustains Ikigai. It is said that in a small village in Okinawa, an artisan spent his days shaping ceramic bowls. He did not produce on a large scale, did not seek to get rich, and was not in a hurry. With each bowl, he dedicated attention and love. A curious tourist asked, "Why don't you produce faster? You could sell more and make more money." The artisan smiled and replied, "If I do it quickly, I don't put my soul into it. And if the bowl doesn't carry my soul, it has no life. What sustains me is not the quantity of bowls, but the meaning of each one." This artisan understood Ikigai. He practiced habit 2, having clarity of purpose in mind. He practiced habit 3, prioritizing what was most important. He practiced habit 7, renewing himself with each daily practice. And by sharing his art, he also lived the habits of public victory. This story shows us that true effectiveness is not in speed, but in the coherence between action and purpose. We can summarize this entire journey in a cycle. I choose proactivity. I visualize, goal in mind. I act with discipline, priority. I share, win-win. I listen, empathy. I create together, synergy. I renew, improve the instrument. This cycle repeats daily, forming a spiral of growth. And in this spiral, Ikigai is the force that gives meaning to each turn. For those who follow us, the invitation is clear. Choose one habit today and apply it in your daily life. Ask yourself, what calls me to practice my Ikigai now? Transform small decisions into seeds that will blossom into trees of purpose. Remember, it's not about perfection, but about progress. It's not about discovering everything at once, but about cultivating each day. After all, the 7 habits are not to become highly effective in the eyes of the world. They are to become highly faithful to your essence. Stephen Covey gave us tools. Ikigai gives us purpose, and you have in your hands the option to turn your life into a work of meaning. So I ask you, what seeds will you plant today? What habits will you cultivate so that your life blossoms toward your Ikigai? Take a deep breath. Feel the now. And remember, your purpose already dwells within you. You just need to adjust it each day, like an instrument that never stops singing the unique song only you can offer to the world. If this content helped you, like, share, and subscribe to the channel to continue this journey with us. We highly recommend reading the book, or the link is in the description. Thank you for the company. See you in the next video.